Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel's Finding Value. Today we're going to do our daily technical analysis update of commodities. We'll work our way through the dollar, precious metals, yields, and commodities and ETFs that I follow. I'm going to give you my financial opinion, and if you guys need any help with anything, check out finding-value.com. We have a discount going on called Discount if you want to sign up and join our community. So let's dive in here and see what's going on. We're starting with the dollar. We're seeing that dollar weakness, just like we expected back here. But we had a little detour to go up and around with yields. So weaker dollar, down 0.4%. It does look like to me that we could potentially be breaking out to the downside here and have further downside with the DXY. 2-year yield is also putting in a similar pattern. We're squeezing on up. We've got some selling pressure here, and we have fallen out the downside of this. Now, need to get some follow through. So, follows through, we could see a pullback in the shorter term yields. The long end of the curve down a little bit, but doesn't look as bad as the 2-year. It looks like this could still go higher. I don't see as much selling pressure on the long end of the curve. So this curve is kind of working its way where the short end is going to come down some and the long end has been going up or being a lot more resilient. The curve is normalizing where the short end of the curve and the long end of the curve, it's starting to flatten back out and potentially normalize to some degree over time. Sometimes when that occurs, depending on how fast this 2-year drops, can determine that we could go into a slowdown in the market. Now, a lot of those slowdowns are generally driven by the real estate market, and a crash in the real estate market does result in a recession, unemployment, etc., etc. There are some times in history where the 2-year goes down and it's caused by something outside of the real estate market. It could be a credit problem, it could be a banking crisis, it could be the tech stocks and things crashing in that sector. So again, it's coming down and we could see slowness depending on how fast this unravels. The potential. TYX TNX ratio heading higher today. That is generally good for gold and silver. So we've got the yield curve uninverting to some extent, where the long end's coming down faster than the short end. That's what we had today. And that the resultant is this coming on up. Now we've got weaker dollar, weaker yields. Generally, gold does pretty well here under these market conditions. So we'll see what gold's done. We've got TLT looking like garbage still on the 20-year. This still needs some time to try to bottom here, but it looks like it's trying, and we'll see what happens. The gold was slightly lower today, slightly lower. It looks like it's trying to put in a bottom here. Why is it still getting sold off? Good question. Maybe people don't believe that yields are going to fall. Maybe they're waiting to see if yields are going to continue higher. I don't know. But to me, it looks like it's a good spot to actually accumulate if it were myself. Silver the same way. It looks like it's trying to turn here. Probably be a good time to look at. And platinum's doing the same thing. A little bit lower, but I like it down here. It's a pretty cheap price at $867. I'll take it. Palladium also heading lower. I'm not as fond of palladium. It generally is out of cycle. You wanted to buy that post crash right here, ride it all the way up, and I exchanged all of my metal here. That's when the ratio peaked against platinum. I've been out of palladium, and I am waiting for palladium to go lower against the platinum that I exchanged it. XEU to gold ratio, it does look like people are positioning in gold and silver mining companies. Is this the start of gold and silver, the physical metals, starting to go higher? Don't know. Let's wait and see. But this does look like a potential double bottom. Here's bottom one, bottom two, and we'll see if we can get any lift off here where gold and silver mining companies start to move to the upside against the metal. The CRB index, more or less pretty flat. Looks like we've got some support right where we're at, maybe a little slightly below us, but we've had a pretty big pullback here for the CRB index, and oil is still selling off at the moment. CRB to S&P 500 a little bit more stable today, but again, a pretty big selling pressure day here. We could see further downside unless we see some sort of reversal pattern or candlestick. There could be more downside left. GDX, there's your bullish engulfing. That looks good to go higher. It looks like it's trying to bottom. GDXJ and SILJ roughly doing the same thing. Maybe not as strong as GDX, but they don't look that bad. But again, they don't look great either as the momentum's still to the downside and we don't have clear bottoming patterns yet. Crude oil, it is getting sold off here. That could also be an indication that there is maybe people are fearful of the conditions coming up in front of us. Slowdown, recession is what I'm talking about. If that's the case, you'll see positioning in gold and silver, specifically gold and also silver. And we would see weakness in crude oil. We're seeing that, and maybe there's some fear creeping back into the market. TTF nat gas, it's right on support. We'll see if that support holds. The support line's this guy coming up through there. I did draw it through, I think, the longer time frame here. I just hit these guys at the bottom there. Nat gas ripping it today, guys. 7.5%. This looks pretty good. It looks like it's trying to bottom and turn on up. It is turning on up and it is starting to move to the upside. So that looks very strong for nat gas. And nat gas is absolutely cheap against all the other assets. I think natural gas looks absolutely excellent at this time. XOP, yeah, you know me. Lots of downside momentum here. It's trying to reverse it, but you don't jump in front of something with that much momentum. Let it work its way out. So again, we hit our head on this neckline. We hit our head a few times on this thing over here, came back, hit our head again, and we'll probably loop back again, try to break through it. Obviously, it doesn't help oil going down like it has. We've got OIH, the energy service companies, also heading a little bit lower. Again, I would not jump in front of this train here. Let it bottom out, establish some basing, and I would start to purchase whenever it starts to base. Too much. This is your beginning move. It's those twin bearish engulfing patterns, and that's what led to this move behind it. And we were up against resistance. Crop Physical Uranium Trust looking a lot better today. Nice, strong move. I liked how it finished towards the end of the day. Look at this move here. Boom. Nice little finish there, too, where it creeped up a little bit higher. Momentum's to the upside, guys. It looks good. Let's hope that momentum can continue. It's a pretty strong candlestick today, too. It's not one of those weak sauce, limp biscuit, whatever going on there. It's pretty strong. URA, nice, good bullish engulfing. Let's see the reversal here, guys. Let's see this, how much force this thing's gotten it. Looks good. URNM also putting another bullish engulfing. Looks like we could go higher. URNJ following the rest of the group with a good solid day today. CAN still going lower. Again, I don't have the conviction in solar. I just don't. I just think solar is going to run into a lot of cost problems. Another thing to think about, they're trying to push solar and renewables to lower the energy costs to increase gross domestic product for their debt. I am willing to bet that they are trying to hold the price of silver and a lot of the commodities that go into these. I bet you they're trying to hold them lower to get themselves out of this debt problem or debt crisis. They're going to try to do everything they can. But solar, I mean, even though it's subsidized to the yin yang, they're just not profitable. So I just go where the money is. That's oil, gas, coal, those types of things. COPX down at support. It's holding on. That's where we're at. We've got lithium that's heading a little bit lower. This does look like a pretty clear breakdown here. And our next good level of supports down here in the low 30s. We could see a big move to the downside, unfortunately. Same with REMX. It's starting to break down, and we could see further downside in REMX, another kind of bearish setup here. Bulls better get on it if they want to save this thing. S&P 500 down a little bit. It's holding on. I don't really see any strong reversal candlesticks or anything. So this thing's still, and the momentum's still to the downside. So it can still keep going. Same with NASDAQ. It looks like it's trying to pause here. We do have a bullish engulfing there. It is kind of squeezing up. We'll see which way this thing breaks, but momentum came in. We popped like this, and generally it breaks to the downside is my guess. Continuation pattern to the downside would be my bet. KRE trying to get some momentum here, 1.66% up today. This is your regional banking stocks. Now, if they lower rates, guys, this thing could be a accumulation cylinder where if they get loans or QE or another bailout or whatever the heck they're going to get, it could go higher. This is a setup where 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that's when it really launches. That would also coincide with an expansion phase of real estate if interest rates were to drop meaningfully. So, I mean, maybe that's the case. We'll see. EEM, it's up 0.4. And I think this is going to go higher, guys. I think at some point when the dollar rolls over, which we're also seeing yields relax on the short end. We'll see if the dollar moves here. If the dollar moves down, I think emerging markets is going to move up. XHB holding on today. Again, momentum's to the downside. I would not jump in front of that train. Moo also heading a little bit lower. This has got a lot of momentum to the downside. Let it work its way out. Don't jump in front of that train, guys. And we could be going back down to the 69-ish, 68-ish, something level down there. Copper down 0.5%. I want to see where this goes. If we continue lower, it's signaling that we could have a problem with the economy. If it can kind of gain footing here, turn itself up, which maybe that we still have a chance where the economy is not as bad as we thought. But with the yield curve starting to uninvert and copper starting to break down, I don't like the looks of it. Say that. Iron ore holding on. Again, I think this is going to go higher to the upside eventually. We're sitting on top of the pattern. We've got support. We're selling off pretty small sell-off days. They're not big sell-off days here. So we had a lot of force coming up. We could even come back to here and do a back test with a bunch of small little down days. And it would be very bullish, not bearish. Nickel still heading lower. Again, I wouldn't jump in front of this. We need to see a definite turn. We do not see the turn yet. Aluminum down a little bit, but I'm not as bearish on this. We're still above support. Everything still looks okay. Had a little bit of favoring the selling pressure here the past 4 trading days, but I'm going to remain positive on aluminum until we really start breaking down. Baltic Dry Index looks fantastic. Let's rip this thing to the upside. Kind of interesting that we're seeing iron ore and Baltic Dry Index strong at the same time that we're seeing copper break down. Gold to silver ratio favoring gold. Just a weird mix that I don't normally see. Usually I see all these they all kind of turn over all at the same time, like 07 here turned on over. This is a peaking pattern to basically sell off in 08. But this is not a peaking pattern. This is a bottoming pattern that wants to turn up. Nat gas is the same way. Crude oil doesn't look bad. Short term, yes, but longer term, it looks fantastic. Coal, we're getting a little bit of a sell-off today, but I think this is an opportunity, guys. I really do think this is an opportunity. We could come back in this general area back here. It's going to base out. We've had a lot of selling pressure here. And usually this will kind of like work its way out, do a couple of trampoline jumps, base up, coil up. and recharge down there. We just haven't recharged yet. We're in the process of basing out. Bitcoin down 1.22%. Doesn't look horrible, doesn't look great, just kind of moving sideways. Ethereum's the same way. Kind of indifferent at the moment on it. I don't have any money riding on this, so I don't really look at it and stare at it and really put much thought and effort into it, I'll be honest. But that's what we've got for today, guys. I mean, that's what's going on. I think uranium looks pretty good. It's got some good buying pressure there, which is good. But we see the yield curve uninvert, copper break to the downside. Could we get some sort of selling pressure in the markets? Yeah, we could. Very possible. So, what I'm going to do is much nothing. Just ride this thing, let it go. I would still buy in certain sectors that are way down there that look very good and their sectors look strong and are turning higher. I would still buy in those, but I would be careful in some other sectors that have run quite a bit. Could see some downside. It is possible here. Um, and generally what happens is the yield curve uninverts down. And when that comes down, that is generally when you see weakness in the market or a potential crash or something like that. Maybe they'll release news. There's a credit crisis. Some banks go under, all that stuff. But that's what I've got for today, guys. Give me a thumb up. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the website. And we'll catch you guys next time. This is Finding Value.